Circumventing our measures. For the first time, we will introduce the possibility of a full third country ban for crypto asset services. It will act as a strong deterrent for the countries hosting platforms that help Russia evade our sanctions. I want to mention one key point of this new aspect. We propose for the first time to ban from entry into the European Union anyone who has served in the Russian armed forces since the beginning of the war. So, Europe stays off limit for anyone who has participated in the invasion of Ukraine. As simple as that.
Запитання. Передусім, Україна буде продовжувати відповідати на будь-які удари Російської Федерації і застосовувати свої справедливі дальнобійні санкції. Безумовно, ми розуміємо, що робить Росія. Вона хоче ескалювати відносини всередині Європейського Союзу. Наприклад, коли йде наша відповідь на ті чи інші російські удари, і якщо в небі країн Латвії, Литви, Естонії з'являється російський дрон, зрозуміло для чого. І коли з'являється український дрон, ми розуміємо, що вони можуть змінювати курс наших дронів. Це не масово. Поодинокі такі випадки були завдяки системам радіоелектронної боротьби.
Well, I think, Jesse, everybody's always trying to play everybody. I think the president's attitude on this is we have to verify, of course. One of the most important things to whether this ultimate settlement is a success is not what the Iranians write on the paper, but whether they actually comply with some of the requirements of the settlement that we come up to. I think it's very important, and this is one of the big differences. You always hear people talk about the Obama deal and what went wrong with it. The number one thing that went wrong with the Obama deal, Jesse, is that there was not a proper inspections regime to ensure that the Iranians could never build a nuclear weapon. And that's one of the big differences between what happened then and what the President of the United States would get to, assuming we're ultimately able to make a deal. So I don't assume that anybody's acting in good faith. Obviously, we've been very involved in these negotiations, Jesse. We're going to take the attitude of accomplish the President's mission, but verify over the long term.
Win, but we are not winning for 2 years already, almost 3.
The Israelis, the people of Israel are losing for sure. No one slept, kids aren't in schools, who's at work, all of the restaurants that are usually busy are empty.
These 12 hours of missiles are a waste of time for us. We didn't get anything out of that. The Iranians got what they want, which is create an equation between Lebanon and Tel Aviv. So basically now Israel is locked in terms of Lebanon and locked in terms of Iran. So we basically lost.
For sure we didn't win, but we are not winning for 2 years already, almost 3. That's winning, having every 6 months having a little bit of missiles from Iran.
I think also the Israelis, the people of Israel are losing for sure. No one slept, kids aren't in schools, who's at work, all of the restaurants that are usually busy are empty.
There's no tourism.
It's rising in the 1990s and into the 2000s. I said that the United States should not facilitate China's rise. This is a huge mistake. You're going to create a peer competitor. You want to keep China as weak as possible. This is realism 101. But the United States of America was dominated by liberals. The foreign policy establishment was, and they had a series of liberal theories that they employed for thinking about China. Their idea was that if you get China hooked on capitalism and you integrate them into the global economy and you facilitate economic interdependence, we'll have no problem at all. Furthermore,
Welcome back to the SCIF. I'm on the road, of course, so not in the studio. Big show for you today. We got a lot to go through. We're going to be breaking some news on the Spencer Pratt race in Los Angeles and California over the next 24 hours. So stay tuned for that, probably tomorrow morning. So you're not going to want to miss tomorrow's show with a focus on California. So stay tuned for that. You saw the Zelensky and the Ukrainians. There's been an issue of drones flying over the Baltic countries like Latvia, Lithuania, etc. And they're coming from Ukraine. The Ukrainians are saying the Russian electronic warfare is pushing them off course, and the Russians are saying it's essentially Ukraine using Baltic airspace to attack northern Russia, like they did in St. Petersburg during the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. So this is a big deal, but a lot of the Western press is saying these are Russian drones. They're not. They're Ukrainian drones. Even the Ukrainians are talking about that. They're not denying, except when they're in the press, that it's their stuff. So it's a big issue, and we're going to continue to talk about that. You see the EU is cracking down even more. We're becoming the surveillance state, or they are becoming the surveillance state even more, with now blocking crypto and the chat surveillance initiative, all of that. Ursula von der Leyen is essentially Frau Farbissina. I don't know if you remember Austin Powers, but she is the Fourth Reich incarnate, and she's the spokeswoman. She's the face. I mean, and she looks like it too. It's really amazing. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. You're cleared hot. Thanks for all the engagement already. And check out whatfinger.com. I had a question on one of the videos. What did I say? What actually was the URL? It's whatfinger.com. Check it out. It's a great aggregator site. They post a lot of our content. Big show for you today. I've got Andy Huff coming on. We're going to talk FISA, monkeypox, COVID, AI, the kill switch in your car. They're trying to take your car and your freedom from you. I wouldn't buy a new car right now with that thing in it. I tell you what, I don't want the surveillance. I don't want the kill switch. I'll take a 1995 Bronco and I'll be good to go. So all of that needs to be discussed. And then we've got the kicker at 10:45 seconds, or third segment. We got senatorial candidate Mark Lynch from South Carolina running against Lindsey Graham. Hope they all show up, but that's the schedule anyway. All right, so we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Mr. Huff. A lot to go through today. Stay with us.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with U.S. Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager, and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call U.S. Asset Management today and put us to work for you.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. Dr. Huff has checked in, and he'll be right back with us. Let's do the mission brief real quick. Today is June 9th, I believe. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Here's your mission brief. Attempted beheading in North Belfast, causing massive demonstrations across the UK. This might be the turning point. We had the white George Floyd moment last week. This may be the turning point. The video is horrific. You can find it on CDM. Lebanon attacks continue. They hit Tyre this morning. The Shia sector near the Christian sector in Tyre on the northern Lebanese coast. Trump says no defensive action for Israel in the last attack. Excuse me. And number 4, Florida citrus biological warfare from China. That's a huge story on Miami Independent. And DOJ medical school investigation. You can find that on cdm.press. All right, let's get to Dr. Huff because we don't have a lot of time today. We are packed. Thank you very much for coming on. How you doing, Andy? Appreciate it.
I'm doing fantastic. It's a hot day up here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is a rare thing, and I'm getting a lot of work done. I've been super productive lately. I've actually been developing some new machine learning, artificial intelligence techniques, and some advanced quantitative statistics. Things have been real quiet in my life, and I'm loving it.
You're up in the UP. Where at in the UP, man?
West of Marquette, about 40 minutes.
I spent all my summers in Carp Lake, right off of south of Mackinac there. Actually, it's called Paradise Lake now.
Yeah, I know exactly what that is. It's great vacation territory. There's a lot more people over there. It's more social, even though the tourist activity typically picks up around my neck of the woods the next week or two, and then it's pretty busy through August, and then I never see a soul again.
Well, my family homesteaded up there after the Civil War from the Pennsylvania regulars. And then so they built that whole town of Carp Lake, but now it's completely different. Anyway, enough of that. Enough family history. I wanted to talk to you about first, I wanted you on because of monkeypox. This thing is shocking. We put out the story from Children's Health Defense that these guys were caught bringing in monkeypox into the U.S. What the heck is going on with that, man?
Well, it's really the same thing that's been going on for a long time. And when I say a long time, so I entered the field of infectious disease epidemiology effectively around 2011. And, when you're a young doctoral student, you're starting to get the feeling of what's going on. And, come to find out that a number of scientists across academia and in the government and the private sector smuggle agents in the United States. I had met professors that were on watch lists for smuggling tree fungi. Other scientists that frequently visited foreign farms, which were known to have different types of foreign animal disease. So this particular case is very interesting because one of the doctors who was arrested was actually on the DARPA preempt, and preempt was part of the DARPA preempt program on something called the diffuse proposal, which is really the recipe for SARS-CoV-2. So a lot of these scientists, they just believe that they're above the law. And factually or objectively, many are not held accountable for their activities. I'm really happy to see that there's been a lot more enforcement action from USDA, APHIS, it's called, Animal Plant Health Inspection Service. I'll try not to drop too many acronyms here, and the Department of Homeland Security. And really, I'm really happy that the Department of Justice and the FBI is finally doing something about these cowboy infectious disease scientists, pathologists that are bringing these harmful agents into the country. Now, some people will argue, and I've already had some pushback from a few scientists in my field saying, well, the monkeypox was deactivated. Well, that's really not the point. So the point is we have rules, regulations, and laws. And the fact is this Munster guy is a scientist at Rocky Mountain Laboratory. Okay, he's a well-known figure. He's a government official. How long do you think it would take him to file the proper paperwork to get this disease transportation approved? I mean, a week?
Not long. Yeah,
a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it begs the question then, why are these people trying to evade regulation of transportation of infectious agents, even if they're deactivated? I don't care. You have to look at this from the Department of Homeland Security's perspective or APHIS's perspective. You have some people, you don't know who they are. You're in law enforcement. You're not staying up on, all the different scientists smuggling agents around the planet, but you have names on lists. These people come through with some containment, some equipment through the security checkpoint. First, they lie and they're deceptive about what they're carrying. How do you think someone who works in law enforcement responds to that? So they said they don't say that they're carrying viral specimens. I think they said they're carrying some kind of other type of equipment. Well, they're running through the X-ray machine. They start to dig into it and they find little vials full of things.
Wow.
When they have no clue what it is. And I actually used to teach a residency program with DVM students at the Detroit airport where this happened, in partnership with DHS and Customs and Border Patrol and USDA APHIS, really teaching them that there's a lot of different occupations outside of veterinary medicine that they get into. But if you go back into the storage area at that airport where they store all the different crazy things that people try to smuggle in the United States, you have all sorts of contraband. So you have actual real ivory tusks from rhinos, rare turtles, sea fish. I mean, it really runs a list. I mean, monkey heads. I mean, it's really nuts, the things that people try to smuggle back in the United States. And these are people who should have known better. They should have filed the paperwork. And hopefully this investigation leads to more investigation about this person's activities.
Well, it's been an issue. I mean, you had the Chinese doing it. You had this guy caught out in LA with all kind of different biospecimens in a lab. You had, multiple professors arrested. What is the goal? Is it so nefarious they're trying to bring in bioweapons, or is it they're trying to advance their careers by having something to work on? What do you think?
Well, so I've taken a hard look at the biolabs, so the so-called secret biolabs in California and Las Vegas. First of all, there is no law preventing you or I from having a biological laboratory in our house. A lot of people who work in animal health have what we consider a BSL level 1 or BSL level 2 laboratory. Your dentist's office is technically a BS level 2 environment. It is not a crime to have a biolab. Now, just because someone writes on the side of the sample container HIV, COVID, monkeypox, doesn't mean that that agent's actually in there.
Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed right away, looking at the photos of these so-called biolabs, it was very novice. It didn't have the right type of equipment that I would have had at one time in my bacteriology, my parasitology laboratory to store and process these samples correctly. It had a lot of crap, and it was disorganized. And the telltale sign is that usually to at least preserve viral agents, you have to store them in a negative 80 degrees centigrade freezer.
Yeah.
That's extremely cold. Okay. And these freezers that they were storing these agents in were just not at that level. Those freezers are very expensive. If you start buying those up rapidly, you might catch the attention of the FBI or another organization, because if you're not working at say a pharmaceutical company or a university, and you start buying all these negative 80 centigrade freezers, someone may ask the question, well, what is this person up to here? So the viability or the threat posed by that type of laboratory is relatively low. And think about it, COVID's everywhere now. Like COVID's endemic in the human population. Everyone's been exposed to it. So is it really a big deal if you have a COVID sample sitting on the counter? It's everywhere. The real question becomes is, do they have the technology in place to weaponize or do something nefarious? And that's where in the field of biodefense things get tricky, because not all agents are easily weaponized. Some are more difficult to weaponize. And when you start getting into that territory, that's where things can get sketchy. But there's no indication that anything like that was happening in those laboratories. I think it was just a big fear campaign, both on the left and the right, so to speak, in the media. They're hungry for these type of stories. On the right, they're saying, oh, look, it's another biolab. They're up to bad things. And on the left, it catches their attention because, hey, there's another risk of a disease spreading. Let's pump the fear on that. So really, you've got two different kind of mentalities in the press coming together around that one issue. And that's what I think what's going on there.
Another uniparty action. Interesting. Really interesting. Really interesting insight.
Well, maybe not so much uniparty, but the complete opposite tails of the distribution. Not so much maybe in the middle, but on the far left and the far right coming together on that issue.
Interesting. You mentioned AI. That is front and center right now. Trump wants to take a position in open AI for the American people. You've got China. Really, I think it was $300 billion effort to ramp up their data center operations. What are you doing in AI? You mentioned that in the beginning.
Yeah, so I'm actually one of the pioneers in AI. Most people don't know that about me. I've been working with machine learning, is what we technically call it. I don't even believe that this thing that we call AI today is AI. It's advanced natural language processing with some agentic properties, meaning we're making agents out of it. But that doesn't really constitute AI. As Turing talked about, the scientists who coined the term artificial intelligence, it doesn't have a general intelligence yet. That being said, I began working on these types of approaches when I was a PhD student. There was sort of a tipping point where the most advanced thing in mathematics was something called the Markov chain model, and they're still used today. Then it really started getting to random forest and these other types of more mechanized approaches to processing large sets of data. Big data used to be the rage back then. I published a number of seminal papers in the field of natural language processing. I actually did this on Department of Defense funding while I was employed at EcoHealth Alliance. But really, it's that portfolio work started at San Diego National Laboratories, and I can't talk about that work. It's restricted information. And I've just continued to work on it over the years, and I've been sort of a critic, or not really a critic, but a skeptic of the claims that all the different AI companies make. I had a really solid foundation of research methods and statistics training. And I think that's where the best data science and AI people and best scientists in the world come out, because you can really take that foundation, you can apply it to any problem, any domain. It's universal. And I came to find, I did a study and I was curious. I started hearing the term, seeing the term a lot, garbage in, garbage out, when I was a PhD student. And what that means is if you got garbage data, but the perfect model, you'll have garbage come out of it. And the opposite is also true. But if you have the perfect data, but a screwed up model, garbage will come out of it. So that's where the term garbage in, garbage out comes from. Mm-hmm. So when people are talking about AI slop and bad results from all these different chat AIs and things going on, that's sort of the fundamental flawed process that's occurring. It's getting a lot better. I have a lot of interest in sort of the validity of AI. So, there's two different types of aspects of things that we care about. Is the philosophy of science. And the first is reliability. So do you get the same answer every time you ask it the same question? And if you play with AI, it's not always exactly reliable.
So true.
True. So and that's actually one of its top performing areas.
Especially if you challenge it, man. I mean, it's like, did you really say that? Oh yeah, you're right. Here's what I really meant. I mean, that's like total.
Yeah. So that gets this thing talking about the priors, the statistical priors in the model of how it works. That means the information it has before it does the analysis changes when you continue to prompt it. Mm-hmm. So when you're working with, Claude or ChatGPT, whichever one is your favorite, they use these different types of neural nets, the more sophisticated models. And, I don't know exactly how they have those tuned. I'd have to go read like the specific technical paperwork, so like which model you're paying for and which level of processing you get. But these neural nets, these convolutional neural nets, you tweak it a little bit and it sends it down a completely different path of we're supposed to sort of mimic neurons in our brain, right? So typically in reliability of the AI, if you make it real specific, will generate the same answer all the time. Now, the concept of validity, though, means, is the answer real, or was the information that it's giving you real? And that's a challenge. What the human brain does is we have this ability to process information and put it in context. And so as a psych undergrad, and I think that's what sort of gives me an advantage in some ways about how I think about these advanced quantitative problems, because humans, we have two things. We have something called heuristics, and the other thing we have schemas. So heuristics is the fancy term basically for our rule system of how we view the world. And the schema is the framework of our experience filtered through the heuristics together to give us reasoning. Okay. Well, AI doesn't have that yet. And I don't know how they're going to get there. I was drafting up some sort of, I guess, pre-publication kind of work of how I would build a reasoning engine. And that's my next area where I'm going to push this to, and then we'll see where it goes. I just published a statistical paper on it's called the temporary adaptive cluster. And you're going to be like, what the heck does this mean? Well, what that means is it's a cluster analysis. It's highly predictive at predicting the next sequence of events into the future. So I might have the best method in the world on that. It's under peer review right now. I filed a provisional patent on it. But back to what I think we're really getting here. So I'm just laying the foundation here for my expertise in AI. So I worked in high performance computing, all these different aspects of it. The AI bubble. Is it real? And I started to ask myself that question about a week and a half ago. And the thing that I found, so I built what's called a system dynamics model to analyze this objectively. And really, there's two different points of failure in the system. If NVIDIA goes down, the system goes down, or if OpenAI goes down, the system could go down. And I've been publishing a lot of this on Twitter and talking about it. And I don't know if I was helping feeding the concern, but shortly thereafter, President Trump or the White House announced that they were going to meet with a lot of the leading tech AI ecosystem folks to then invest into those companies to maybe hopefully de-risk them some.
And take, what gets me is I've seen this talked about a lot recently is a lot of these companies essentially harvested all our data off the net, scraped it all, put it in computers without any copyright protection, and now are just selling it back to us.
Oh no, it's terrible. So there's a website up for this, and my book, actually, The Truth About Wuhan, was illegally scraped by Meta. And I found out there's a class action lawsuit, and I have to go check probably here in a couple of weeks and send them a letter and saying that I'm withdrawing from the class action. And I sent them a demand notice for $25 million. I don't think I'd get that much out of it. But I mean, the point is, if humans and people, and we're generating intellectual work and property, And Dr. Brett Weinstein and Dr. Eric Weinstein have also discussed this on social media. You know, if our brains are the ones that are creating all this new information, and then it just gets scraped by an AI, I mean, we should be compensated for that. Yes. It's no different than artists. You know, this is the same kind of debate around when iMesh and Napster came out. You know, all the artists were pissed off that eventually that all these people were sharing the intellectual property of the artist and other people were taking it for free and using it. It's the same, I think it's the same legal premise or argument here. And I think, you know, that's a huge potential source for liability for these companies. You know, the trick is, you know, proving that your information, your data was scraped. You know, the other interesting aspect of this too, of this AI tech ecosystem issue is, you know, the system dynamics model has these stocks and flows. It shows you how the money works. It shows you the relationships when the rates of different things change in the system. So, you know, if inflation were to soar or employment would increase rapidly, that could also bring down the AI tech ecosystem right now, because it's so close. It's at a tipping point to going. And, you know, thankfully we had a positive jobs report this week. I was really happy to see that, or I guess I should say last week. So it seems like the risk is really coming out of it. The other insight that I was able to glean from this model that I built, you know, people have been asking the question, well, why are they putting so much pressure to build these data centers so rapidly? And one of the interesting parts of the puzzle is that NVIDIA has received about 1.5 trillion in the form of bond investment from financial markets, mainly banks, mainly JP Morgan, BlackRock, Blackstone. You start asking the question, well, okay, if they're putting this money in, where's it going? And it's supposed to go for physical data centers and these AI chips, which are very expensive, these TPUs and GPU units. And the problem is, if NVIDIA is manufacturing these chips and they're going to sit idle and they're not getting put into the warehouse, the question is, what happens to the value of those chips? Because these chips are rapidly depreciating assets. So if this investment in NVIDIA is backed by bonds and the asset value rapidly decreases, that's the other way that the AI ecosystem could fail as well. So if they don't get the data centers built, that could actually make the system fail. So this is why I believe all the pressure is being applied to get these data centers built rapidly.
Wow, very interesting. I saw your X feed, and I was interested in two things. One, the Pfizer renewal, and also the kill switch in the cars. To me, those are huge issues. I mean, yeah, I won't buy a new car. It's not going to happen. Something really old. What say you on all this? Well,
you know, considering my car was actually hacked when I went through the stuff from the U.S. government on a couple different occasions, I'm not paranoid about it, but you know, it's a concern, and it's a trade-off. I like all the new technology on new cars. The fact of the matter is whether or not they pass Sorry, I got a whiny dog over here. The fact of the matter is whether or not they pass a law or they enact a law for privacy protections around cars. They've been spying on people through the car since 2014. So when the Jeeps first became the cars that were like the multimedia Uber connected cars, they were hacked right away. And they've been conducting surveillance on people in these cars since 2014. So yes, I'd like to see a law banning that from happening. You know, not just a law saying we're going to take away the ability to do that, but there should be a law saying that the government or other institutions can't use that information to spy on you. That's the first thing. Now back to the FISA warrant issue. Get a warrant. I mean, obviously the FISA system is broken. I used to be a huge supporter back, you know, when I was, in the military, you know, 2004, 2005, you know, let's crush terrorism. We need the Patriot Act. But you look at the reality of how this is being used, and it's just being used to spy on everyday Americans without cause, without purpose. I can't see any benefit coming out of it. You know, like I've never got a call from the CIA or the FBI or Department of Homeland Security and be like, hey, Dr. Huff, someone's going to break into your house. Or, hey, Dr. Huff, you know, look out for this. They're not using that information to warn or to help people. They're using it just to tamper with their lives. And this asks the other big, like how much tax money is going to funding all these analysts sitting in Virginia, listening in on normal Americans' lives? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're paying these people to sit at desks to get information queued into the system to do what with it? What do they do with this information?
Yeah.
Nothing good. They're not trying to help us. And the whole argument that they're decreasing terrorism from this, show me the proof.
Well, it's just like the flock cameras, that we're decreasing crime. Well, crime's going up. So, it ain't helping.
Interesting. Do you think crime's going up? I mean, so is that a data informed opinion? Because I thought the FBI just put out numbers that violent crime was going down, or
I guess it depends on where you are. I mean, if you look at Savannah, Georgia, it's up 56% over last year so far.
Interesting.
This year, violent crime. So I guess I'm not a big.
Were the numbers really low to begin with? So, like, if you have a really low rate, it only goes up a little bit. It's sort of, when you say 56%, it can make that.
Savannah, that's a specific case. It has a big gang violence problem, and I should say not Savannah, Chatham County was up 56% over last year in violent crime, gang-related violence. But again, that's a localized place. Yeah, a lot of places it's going down. I guess my point was, I'm not sure that these are worth the loss of my privacy in order to, do whatever they're trying to do. Know where I'm going. For instance, my location all over the town every day, every second, where my vehicle's going. Is that something that should be stored to be looked at?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. These systems are that information is getting fed into like Palantir, and I have no problem with Palantir. Like I actually think a lot of their ML deep tech approaches to analytics are great things. Like, because I developed those tools. However, if they're not using that information to actually help Americans, the best we can do that by reducing crime, really reducing crime. I mean, because you could say terrorism, but
there's on that specific example, there's a report that came out that a lot of places are using the flock information to like check if students are really in that district. I mean, is that a good use or not? I mean, they're checking cars coming into the school to drop off their kids and then going back. I mean, that's not a crime. Maybe it is a crime in certain jurisdictions, but it's not is that kind of game worth knowing, if I'm not, but if I'm cheating on my wife and they see me go to this house every night, that information's there, right? So is that worth my privacy loss, I guess is the question.
Well, so this is it's privatized, right? And my understanding is that if you get into the details, who funds this, who benefits? Well, if it's a private institution on public land, trying to collect information, maybe because it seems like a lot of these flock cameras are illegally installed. They present harm to potentially like traffic accidents, motorcyclists, because they don't have like the snap away kind of poles. These people are just going around installing them. Get rid of them. Yeah, get rid of them. I don't see any benefit to that. The reality is that the United States has such great overhead surveillance from satellites, drones. I mean, there are U.S. government programs to basically have drone coverage of all the U.S. cities. A lot of this has been declassified. One time it was classified, I could talk about. They declassified it, so I can. So they have this. It's there. They can see things going on. They don't need to have cameras at the street level. Yes, they get a different type of information to get more information, but I don't think it's reducing crime. I don't think, if you look at how this information is being used, it's either being used for economic warfare or for political lawfare. Yeah, I mean that's how they use the information. And whichever party's in charge at the local jurisdiction or at the federal government is going to weaponize it. And the only way to prevent the weaponization from either party is to get rid of it.
You mentioned bringing in entities that can harm crops or that kind of thing. The citrus situation in Florida, to me, is fascinating. You had a bug from China somehow make it into Florida, and literally 95% of the citrus industry has been destroyed. How do we prevent that? And do you think that, to me, that looks like biowarfare? But
yeah, so it's a huge concern. So in the biodefense circle, so what you're talking about is a foreign pest or foreign animal disease. New World screwworm right now is another good example of that. So there's the naturally occurring or unintentional, and then there's the intentional. So there was a lot of chatter years ago that porcine epidemic diarrheal virus PED, was a disease that could have been smuggled in from China to decimate the pork industry in North America. Now, there was no proof of that, but a lot of people, were asking the question in my circle. Florida is interesting too, because a lot of diseases get transported from Africa by hurricanes, actually. Can carry dust and other particles all the way across, and viruses and other small pathogens across all the way in a storm. That's been documented.
Interesting. Huh.
So, it's just terrible. But the best way to prevent any disease without knowing the intent is to have strong biosurveillance. And one of my criticisms of Bobby Kennedy, who endorsed my book, is that he's been pretty weak on biosurveillance. And really, you get a lot of bang for your buck. So for every time for every day that you detect a disease earlier, whether it's a plant pathogen, an animal pathogen, you really save millions of lives, plants, economic costs. So early detection is prevention. So USDA is actually, and the Department of Homeland Security have been maintaining very strong biosurveillance efforts. So if you look at this New World screwworm, everyone started freaking out about it, I think, like last week. And I put a one-page infographic up for anyone who's concerned about it, how to deal with it, on my X account at AG Huff. But we were talking about this, the real experts, we were talking about this 5, 6, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. I've been on the phone with officials from Texas and Texas A&M University, talking about, this is coming, it's coming, and it's been in the United States before. So the main thing is not panicking. And I think, the government's media push this past week was, I think a little too strong for what's happening, because who's dealing with this? Local government officials are dealing with it. Federal government officials are dealing with it from multiple different agencies, but ultimately the ranchers are dealing with this, right? The cattlemen, the dairymen, and they need the support. And the media panic around it doesn't help the ranchers or the farmers. Better, when these things happen, like porcine epidemic virus, had you ever heard of that?
No.
So that was very quiet. Everyone in the industry was terrified of it. It was a huge problem. It dropped pork prices, but they handled it on their own. So my point is here, the government coming out and the federal government, making big splash that we're doing something all over social media and the news doesn't necessarily always help, right? It creates fear and panic in people who know nothing about cattle, right?
A lot of times that's the intention, is fear and panic. But,
I think in this case, it's more of like, hey, look at us, we're on top of this, we're doing something. But the best thing sometimes is just to come out and say some real calm messaging. We got this. We're working with producers. We got this. You're in good hands.
Well, Doc, I want to have you back down the road. Is there anything else you want to get out before I let you go?
No, I'm applying to new jobs. I'm looking maybe to plug back into the machine. And, you're going to probably see my next move here in the next month or so.
All right. Stay tuned. Stay in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Take care. Bye.
Have a good day.
First time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Put silver wings on my son's chest. Make him one of America's best. He'll be a man. He'll test one day. Have him win the Green Beret.
All right, welcome back to the SCIF. We're waiting on Mark Lynch, who's running for Senate in the great state of South Carolina against Lindsey Graham. Huge, important race. Don't know how it's going to come out, but he's a busy guy. Today's the election, and he may not come on. It was a little iffy. He told me 10:45, but may not happen. So we'll see. We'll give it a little time. A groundbreaking new study shows that there is a safe and inexpensive potential cancer treatment, and it's a drug that many of us already know about, ivermectin. This new study shows that individuals who took ivermectin, the parasite-fighting medication that gained fame during the COVID pandemic, along with the drug mebendazole, saw remarkable results in their battles with cancer. This incredibly promising results have many Americans wondering where they can obtain U.S.-made ivermectin and mebendazole, and that's where the wellness company comes in. You see and hear from TWC doctors all the time here on this network, and you know that their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The wellness company is making 100% American-made ivermectin and mebendazole available to my audience at an incredibly affordable price point. Say no to Big Pharma's greed and say no to Big Pharma's poisons and say yes to a company that you can trust to bring your safe, affordable, effective treatments. If you or someone you love is interested in trying ivermectin plus mebendazole, I urge you to go to twc.health/CDM today and order. That's twc.health/CDM and use promo code CDM to save 10%. So please support the wellness company. They got a lot of good stuff. Go to their website, play around, look at all the different things they offer, and let us know. So Lynch is not here. Let's walk through some stories. The Miami Independent, how a tiny insect decimated Florida citrus and where that and what they're doing about it, essentially. A fascinating story because, I remember as a kid, my grandfather took me to Disney World, and I remember seeing all the orange trees along the highway heading south. And that is no more. They're down to like 5% of what they had because of this disease from China. There is some, strategies to combat it, but it's a real huge problem. I think it's biowarfare because I think the Chinese have been doing unrestricted warfare on us, and this is just another part of that. But you can read this on the Miami Independent. Really interesting story. All right, on the Georgia Record, our Georgia paper, where the CDC is in Atlanta, let that sink in. Fed charges 2 NIH researchers with smuggling monkeypox into the U.S. You had heard Dr. Huff talk about that. Fascinating story. I think there's probably a lot more behind this that hopefully will come out. But stay on that because we are. All right, this one is horrific. In the UK, actually in North Belfast, an African man attempted to behead a white man, pinned him to the floor and started cutting his neck. and a bunch of bystanders stopped him with a stick. The guy's been arrested, but the UK is either going to survive or it's not. It either has the will to survive or it doesn't. We just had the white George Floyd moment where the cops, put a man who'd been stabbed 5 times by a Sikh with his ceremonial sword, that no other white man can carry a sword. But the Sikhs are allowed to in Britain. He was stabbed 5 times and died, while the cop was concerned only about racism from the white man, and cuffed the white guy dying and bled out on the street. Really horrific. But the UK is up in arms. There's massive protests going on across the country. We're going to probably have our Eurobytes team on to discuss this soon. Spencer Pratt, we've got information coming soon on this story. Trump blasts crooked California elections as Spencer Pratt falls to 3rd place in the LA primary. Stay tuned for this. We're going to be dropping some big news on this story soon. So stay tuned. That's all I can tell you, probably tomorrow. And then the last one, Trump provided no defensive action for Israel in the recent Iranian missile attacks. There's a split, at least, I don't know if it's created or if this is real, but there's definitely a split happening in the Israeli-American relationship. It could be just a show, a theater, or it could be real, or it could be both. But we are, again, on this story. We'll be in Beirut. I just showed you that they struck Tyre, which is north of Beirut. The Israelis did today. So a lot happening. All right, it doesn't look like Mr. Lynch is going to come on. We're going to close the show out here. Be back tomorrow. I've got Pete Blaber and Chris Gleason and others will be here tomorrow to talk about what's going on in California. So with that, take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you joining us today. Oh, we're on podcast. Please, if you haven't already done so, go to CDM on YouTube and subscribe to us there. CDM1 on Rumble and CDM_press on X. And also look for our no ad subscriptions, my.cdm.press, my.cdm.press. You get access to all of our content with no advertisements, no videos popping up, etc. You can go from site to site within the CDM network, and you don't have to see any ads. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Appreciate it.